I've done my fair share of community polls on this channel, but I have never seen a margin of victory quite like this one. There are a lot of really good custom maps in Left 4 Dead 2, and Coldfront is among the best on the workshop. This campaign has a level of detail and polish that surpasses some of the official campaigns. The unique models, the environments, the Easter eggs, Coldfront has a lot of stuff. This campaign took over 3 years of development, and the official credits are huge. A full team of people worked on this map, and it shows. Coldfront is an excellent campaign. The levels are well designed, the map looks amazing, and on the lore side, we have a lot of small details to talk about. So, without wasting any more time, let's break down the story behind Coldfront. The campaign starts out with the survivors on a dock. The official description for the campaign reads as follows. After fighting their way north through the ravenous hordes, Nick, Coach Ellis, and Rochelle abandoned their boat at a nearby dock due to a collapsed bridge. With nowhere else to go, the survivors head inland in hopes of finding rescue. Unbeknownst to them, the frostbite is the least of their worries. There is a lot to go over in this starting area. Let's start off with this really cool Easter egg. When you leave the spawn room and head over to the left side of the street, you can hear someone playing a guitar. If you listen closely, you'll notice he's playing a very familiar tune. And if you fire your gun, the guitarist will abruptly stop. Custom maps are full of small Easter eggs like this, and I'll do my best to cover all of them as we go. As you play through Coldfront, you may have noticed a lot of small changes to the environment and the infected. Cars and buildings are obviously covered in snow, which is a noticeable contrast from the official Left 4 Dead campaigns, as none of them take place in a snowy environment. If you look at the infected models, you'll notice that they're wearing sweaters and jackets, clothing that's more suitable for cold weather. The skin of the special infected models appears blue and pale, clearly damaged by the harsh weather conditions. Speaking of small changes that add a lot to the experience, check out this alarm car from No Mercy. This is what happens after you shoot it. Standard, right? The car alarms in Coldfront, however, instead look like this. Here's another small change. Cars in Coldfront have running engines that you can hear when you get close enough. It's not just the cars either. Generators also have their own ambient sound effects. It may seem like a bunch of small tweaks, and they are, but small things add up over time, and it adds a lot to the immersion of this campaign. Now, let's move on. In Chapter 1 of Coldfront, you can sometimes find this key. This key has a completely random spawn every time you play, but in my experience, it was always along the path and easy to find. You're probably wondering, what does this key do? We'll get to that in just a second. For now, let's move on to the halfway point of Chapter 1, where we have a few things to talk about. The first thing is this advertisement. 3 toys are displayed, and their names are Jumbo, Viperactive Steve, and Fred the Gator. You're probably wondering why I'm pointing this out as well, and I promise it will be important later. The second thing I wanted to point out is this American flag, a clear indicator that we're still in the United States. And finally, before you drop down from the hotel, you can find this door on the right. This is what the key unlocks, and when you head inside, you find the Coldfront developer room, a small room that features relaxing music. The Left 4 Dead 1 survivors are also hanging out here, and you can find various nods to Coldfront contributors. The developer room also features this image of Rocket Raccoon, an adorable picture of a cat named Boo Boo, and this plushie rocking dual pistols. Coldfront is full of fun Easter eggs like this, and I promise I will get to all of them, but we still have a few things to break down. Here's another really cool piece of trivia. Coldfront was inspired by the Roblox game Left 4 Dead. It's basically just Left 4 Dead but in Roblox. Chapter 1 of Coldfront also matches the layout from Left 4 Dead almost perfectly. Sadly, this Roblox game is only 1 chapter long, and it was unfortunately discontinued. For anybody who still plays Roblox, the game is a lot of fun, and plays a lot like the original Left 4 Dead games. Now, let's head over to the end of Chapter 1, where the survivors officially arrive at their first evacuation center, Century Mall. Once you open the door and finish up the event, we have some graffiti to break down. The first bit of graffiti is right before you enter the safe room, and it reads as follows. The whole town is overrun. Does anyone have a plan? Shoot first, think never. Once you enter the safe room, we have even more graffiti to break down. Sita didn't tell me the air was infectious. Sita didn't tell me those things could spit acid. What was Sita even doing? Leaving us for dead.
Roll credits.
What the hell is the army doing? Trying to keep you alive. Don't trust these guys. They're hurting us up without explaining a thing. We have no other choice here. Disobeying equals dying. Just follow the orders. Based on the wall graffiti and other hints found in Chapter 2, Sita and the military turned the Century Mall into an evacuation center, but just like all the other evacuation centers in Left 4 Dead, it was overrun by the infected. Hundreds were left to die, and the military pulled out of Century Mall, but we can confirm that there were some survivors. We'll get to that in due time. For now, let's head over to Chapter 2. While fighting through the mall, you may have noticed some common infected wearing purple uniforms that say Century Mall. They look very, very similar to the Willamette employee uniforms seen in Dead Rising 1. At the start of Chapter 2, the survivors walk through a gun store. At first you may be thinking, sweet, now I can get some Tier 2 weapons. But once you head inside, the store only has Tier 1 weapons, and you can find a sign saying all the auto shotguns are sold out. Once you head deeper into Century Mall, you find the signs of an abandoned evacuation center. Zombified CEDA agents in hazmat suits can be found in this area, along with various CEDA tents. Chapter 2 isn't very long, but we still have a few things to talk about. A few minutes into Chapter 2, the survivors find a safe room. This can be confusing for a lot of players, as you're only a few minutes into the chapter, but as you walk towards the door, this happens. This is a really cool fake out. The only problem is that it happens very early in the chapter, so experienced players can see this coming. It's still a really cool event regardless. Also watch out for the bookshelves, they will instantly down you. Once you head inside the safe room, you can find a pile of dead bodies. Blood is everywhere. These survivors were torn apart by a tank from inside the safe room. Sounds terrifying, doesn't it? A dead body against the wall can be seen holding a radio, and once you head to the other side of the safe room, you find a destroyed piece of drywall and a safe room door on the ground. You can also find some graffiti that reads as follows: "Area is overrun. Hide and wait it out. Low on ammo, food, and morale. We're screwed. I always imagine I'd be a badass, but I'm just a human. Better than being infected. Don't give up." Shortly after, the survivors walk through a store called Squid Records, a store that sells CDs. If you take a closer look at some of these CDs, their names are, well, interesting. Some of these names include Chocolate Helicopter Annihilation, My Dog the President, Pulsating Garbage, and finally, I Married My Own Pants. I also found Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, which I thought was pretty funny. Century Mall is full of advertisements. Some of them are reused from other campaigns, but Coldfront also features a lot of original advertisements. For example, you can find this throughout Century Mall. Canada. The views are different here. Jay's Tours. Century Mall also has an IKEA store, and it's honestly one of the best parts about Chapter 2. Again, there isn't a store like this in any of the official campaigns, and seeing detailed, original stuff like this in a custom campaign is really cool. Now, let's head over to the van at the ending of Chapter 2. This is another solid event that's actually pretty hard. The parking garage is very dark, and there are plenty of line of sight breakers for the infected. If you're unlucky, you'll also get a witch spawn during the run to the safe room. Now, let's head over to Chapter 3, where we have even more wall graffiti to break down. Don't shoot the crying ones. What? Zombies don't cry. It sounds human, but will tear you to pieces. This is nothing like the movies. No shit, Sherlock. Comms went silent, ammo running low. What's the protocol now? Pray. There is a lot to talk about in Chapter 3. Let's start with this dialogue interaction between the survivors.
Ooh, damn, this is cold.
God damn it, it's cold.
Sure is cold out here. Hey guys, snowball fight!
Ellis, we are not having a snowball fight.
You're probably wondering how these voice lines are even in the game. None of the official Left 4 Dead maps take place in a cold or snowy area, so what's the deal with these voice lines? From what I was able to gather, Valve had extra time while recording dialogue for the passing, so they recorded extra lines specifically for community maps. This is such a cool piece of trivia, and again, it really helps these custom maps stand out. I'll be sure to point out more of these community voice lines in future breakdowns, but for now, let's get back to some lore analysis. Chapter 3 is full of CEDA tents and military vehicles. Abandoned buses, tanks, trucks, and APCs are everywhere. If you look to the left of the mall entrance, you can find a CEDA tent with 3 dead soldiers. If you walk up to the radio and listen closely, you can hear this. At first, Century Mall may seem like another CEDA evacuation center that was overrun and abandoned, but we can confirm that someone survived. We'll get to that in due time. For now, let's break down even more wall graffiti. They warned us of an infectious virus and y'all hoarded toilet paper. Should have known then. Now, let's move on to the warehouse. After turning on the power, the survivors hear someone talking, and after the door opens, the survivors are officially introduced to Mike. This is one of the best features in Coldfront. Mike is an original 5th survivor, equipped with his own voice lines and facial animations. Some of his dialogue is scripted, sure, but he also has a lot of ambient dialogue as well. Mike will call out special infected. He'll tell you to heal when you're low on health. And here's the crazy part. Mike, by himself, has 436 voice lines. That is a shit ton of dialogue, and it's one of the most impressive things I've seen on the workshop. Speaking of dialogue, here's a voice line from Mike that gives us some lore implications.
Nice to meet you. My name's Mike. I got stuck in here when the military retreated and locked down the warehouse. I think they were trying to slow down the infected.
Shortly after, the survivors have to hold off the infected as Mike opens the door. It's a solid defend your position segment that lasts quite a while too, and Mike is busy with the door, so he isn't going to be shooting the infected for you. Overall, it's a solid event. Now, let's move on to the wall graffiti found in Chapter 4. Kilo 7, lost 3 guys getting here, heading north side for evac. Rest up and take all you need. Leave some guns for the rest of us. Work together, we will survive this. Show them who's boss. Who would have thought killing zombies would be so much fun? People are dying out here, have some respect. Oh sure, I'll just kill them respectfully now. Gee, thanks. I killed 11,206 zombies. Signed XX Zombie Slayer XX. Did you seriously think we'd believe that? Didn't ask, L ratio. I killed 11,206 zombies. Might want to get off the Xbox, dude. Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox. Who gave this guy a pen? Forget a pen, who gave him a gun? Mom said it's my turn on the minigun. Shut up. Has anyone got some rifle ammo? Why don't you ask XX Zombie Slayer XX? I think I saw him get swarmed before. Thank God. At the start of this chapter, our radio abruptly turns on, and a soldier can be heard saying the following.
This is an emergency broadcast from Canadian Armed Forces under NATO command. The United States has fallen and the infected are pushing north. We're preparing to cut off all connections along the border in ETA 20 minutes. If any remaining survivors can hear this message, proceed to North Charlton for evacuation. I repeat, proceed to North Trinity Highway for final evacuation.
So, as Mike confirmed, the military is pulling out of Century Mall, and the survivors have to reach the final evacuation or they'll be left for dead. Mike sadly decides to stay behind. Sucks because he was a really cool guy. If only there was a way to bring him with us. Also, here's a fun detail. Mike will get annoyed when you jump on his head.
Could you not stand on my head? Please?
Now, let's move on to Chapter 4. This is a good time to point out the blizzard mechanic. It's kind of similar to the storm from Hard Rain, but in Coldfront, when you're in a blizzard, you are unable to see survivor outlines. It basically turns on realism mode for a few seconds, and it's a super neat mechanic. The infected can very easily ambush you because of the lack of visibility, so be cautious whenever the storm hits. Later on, in a staircase, we find a dead body and even more graffiti that reads as follows. Too weak to go on. Leaving supplies in the next room. Good luck. Some of the official maps have split pathways, and Coldfront has one in Chapter 4 as well. Shortly after leaving the safe room, you can find this ladder and use it to get to the rooftop. On repeat runs, however, the ladder will be on the ground, forcing you to go a different route. Coldfront has a lot of cool lore, but you also have to appreciate the level design in this campaign. Later on, the survivors walk onto a rooftop and have to climb over a train to get across the gap. There are no railings of any kind, so watch out for chargers. After this, the survivors arrive at the border and officially cross into Canada. On the right, you can find a piece of graffiti that reads as follows, I hate Canada. And when you walk inside the small building, you find more dead soldiers and even more wall graffiti that reads as follows, Andrews is sick, need meds, Alpha 7. Gunny turned, Johnson had to put him down. How did that happen? He wasn't bit. Poor guy, this is messed up. We're screwed. Before we move on to Chapter 5, we're going to go back and sweep through all the Easter eggs in this campaign. I've gone over a few of them already, but it's a custom campaign, so there's a lot of Easter eggs. The first Easter egg is found in Chapter 1. If you turn around and look behind you, you'll sometimes see a gnome in a swan boat, equipped with a minigun, a Molotov, and an M60. The next Easter egg is also found in Chapter 1, when you play Coldfront in Versus mode. When you spawn in, you can find a piece of graffiti that reads as follows, Tank is mad. The next thing I wanted to point out are the jukeboxes. These jukeboxes are found in some of the official campaigns. Some of the official tracks are Midnight Ride, One Bad Man, Save Me Some Sugar, and on very rare occasions, the jukebox will sometimes play Still Alive, the classic Portal song. In Coldfront, the jukeboxes have a custom playlist by the artist Callie May. The jukebox in Chapter 2 also has a poster that reads as follows, Kill Circle, the brand new hit album by the one and only Callie May, featuring Too Busy For You, Mania, Worldwide Scumbag, Weighing a Ton, Time Up the River, and many more. Some of these tracks are actually pretty good too, so be sure to turn on the jukebox whenever you're playing Coldfront. The next Easter egg is seen by climbing onto these boxes. After looking over the wall, you can find a table. 4 toy plushies of Fred the Gator can be seen, and after staring for a few seconds, this happens. The next Easter egg can be found in Chapter 3. 6 snowmen are hidden throughout the map, and if you shoot all their heads and reach the safe room, Fred the Gator makes an appearance once again. This time, he brings you supplies and Tier 3 weapons. The next Easter egg is probably my favorite. At the entrance to the mall, you find a pack of colas. If you bring this cola all the way to the safe room at the end of the chapter, Mike will actually follow you for the remainder of the campaign. The next Easter egg can be found in this far corner. A pile of yellow snow can be found, and if you interact with it, you can actually eat the yellow snow. which results in an immediate death. The next Easter egg is also found in Chapter 4. When you walk inside this garage, you can interact with this car lift and lower the truck. When you look inside the truck bed, you can find Fred the Gator, supplies, and Tier 3 weapons. The next Easter egg can be found at the I Hate Canada wall graffiti. If you interact with this piece of wall graffiti, this happens.
Oh my god, I hate Canada so much.
And the final Easter egg can be found near the end of Chapter 5. Fred the Gator can be found in a box, holding a sign saying hello. Now with all that out of the way, let's move on to the wall graffiti found at the beginning of Chapter 5. I'm running on caffeine, nicotine, and hate. Why do we still have PT at 0400 during this shit? If we survive this, they better let us grow beards. Now, let's move on to Chapter 5. After a short walk, the survivors find a radio, and 2 soldiers can be heard having a conversation. It's a very similar setup to the parish, but it's important to keep in mind that these soldiers have their own unique voice lines. The soldiers say that the demolition crew is not going to wait for them, so they have 5 minutes to reach the bridge. The finale of this campaign is awesome. It's a gauntlet similar to the parish, but instead of running in a straight line, you are instead fighting through warehouses, gas stations, and highways. This finale also has 2 different endings depending on how fast you make it to the bridge. If you make it to the bridge in less than 5 minutes, you cross over and board an APC. If it takes you more than 5 minutes to reach the bridge, it explodes and you have to wait for a helicopter. Stuff like this is super cool, and it adds a lot of replayability to this campaign. Knowing that there's a timer in the background puts a lot of pressure on the player, but that's what makes it so fun. If you make it across the bridge, you can also find 3 soldiers from the Canadian Armed Forces, all with unique models and voice lines, and they'll even shoot the infected for you. After crossing over the bridge, the survivors get into the APC as the bridge explodes behind them, and that concludes the story behind Coldfront. This is one of the best custom campaigns in the workshop. The polish, the innovation, the Easter eggs, there is a lot of stuff in this campaign, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't played Coldfront already, you should. It's a fantastic campaign that is 100% worth your time. So, what's another custom campaign I should break down? If I missed anything, or if you guys have anything to add, be sure to let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.